What you're looking at is the inauguration of the first female president of Tanzania, an East African nation with a population of over 72 million people. This looks like a normal inauguration, but there's nothing normal about it. This was a closed inauguration ceremony, closed to the public, and only aired by the state's TV, TBC. It happened in a tightly guarded military parade ground in Dodoma, the capital of Tanzania.
Suluhu was sworn in a tightly guarded event.
Quite strange. Why did they have to close it to the public? Why did they have to conduct it in a military ground and not a public square or a public ground?
Someone who officially garnered 98% of the vote, she was rather shy of the electorate. The public was banned from the ceremony.
Anayechaguliwa na wengi huwa ndio chaguo la nchi na anapaswa kuwa mtumishi wa wananchi wote.
Quite a soft-spoken woman, isn't she? But there's nothing soft about her.
A military salute. On the streets of Tanzania, the last 5 days have seen real gunfire.
Kama Somalia.
In a 16-minute speech, President Samia Suluhu Hassan eloquently presented one of the most well-written speeches in the history of Tanzania.
Na sote tulionyesha kuwa siasa sio vita. Tumemaliza vyema uchaguzi na kumpongeza aliyeshinda.
But behind all this eloquence and a soft-tone voice, there lies a tragedy of magnitudes never seen before.
The elections had been marred by deadly violence. Demonstrators took to the streets to protest the exclusion of Hassan's main challengers. The opposition says hundreds of people were killed by police in the unrest. The government denies use of excessive force.
A tragedy that led to the massacre that arguably exceeds the documented 1,500 lives lost during the deadly Kenya's 2007 and 2008 post-election violence. Killings committed by Samia Suluhu's government in just 4 days. Presidential inauguration speeches are usually pomp, accompanied with jubilations and laughter from both attendees and the president. But during President Samia Suluhu's inauguration speech, there were many instances where applause for the president's remarks was expected. But this rarely happened. The applauses felt forced to please the demon in hijab.
Taswira na sifa za Kitanzania na sio Utanzania.
Samia's ceremony was quite gloomy. The few instances where people applauded, the camera was avoided to be spun towards the crowd.
Kwani usalama wa taifa lolote hulindwa na wote kwa nguvu zote na gharama zozote.
But the very few instances the camera spun to the attendees, you could count the number of people applauding.
Tumeyakataa. Ushauri wao tutauzingatia ili tufanye vizuri zaidi siku zijazo. Mwisho wa kunukuu. Ndugu wananchi, sifa moja ya mwanadamu ni kutokukamilika.
And just by listening to their screams and claps in the background, you could also estimate the number of the ones applauding. The number was very low.
Kwani usalama wa taifa lolote hulindwa na wote kwa nguvu zote na gharama zozote.
That's quite strange, isn't it? It reminds me of Kenya's inauguration ceremony of President Mwai Kibaki that happened at night. President Mwai Kibaki's inauguration speech was arguably one of the shortest inauguration speeches in the world. Also, Samia Suluhu's speech was quite short. It was roughly 16 minutes. Usually, presidential inauguration speeches are between 20 to 40 minutes. For example, President Ruto's inauguration speech was 46 minutes.
Very good. Very good. Our special gratitude also goes to millions of Kenyans in the hustler movement for tirelessly mobilizing for the campaign and executing a historic revolutionary feat, perhaps as great as the daring exploits of our legendary freedom fighters.
Samia's actions to this throne made Kenya's most hated president, President Ruto, look like a saint.
Welcome back. Now, 1,000 days into President William Ruto's rule, a disturbing truth shadows his promises. This is no longer just political story, it is personal account of the suppressed rights and freedoms, state-sanctioned abduction and disappearances. It is a story of Jacinta Nyango, a grieving mother who lost her 9-year-old son in protests and chaos, of Bernard Kavuli, stripped and tortured for speaking out, of Bomjagi and Longton brothers who vanished for weeks. These are the faces behind the numbers, behind 159 cases of extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances documented in just a year.
Samia has now given the vampires of East Africa, hunting for blood, a blueprint to stick to the throne. During her speech, in her soft voices, she said,
haikutushangaza kuona kuwa baadhi ya vijana waliokamatwa kutokana na kadhia hiyo wametoka nje ya Tanzania.
In English, and I quote, "It did not surprise us to see that some of the youths arrested due to this situation came from outside Tanzania." This wasn't just a statement. In the days before her sham re-election, Tanzanian atmosphere was filled with anger and thirst to protest against the government. Kenyans helped Tanzanians mobilize and pass the message to other Tanzanians. This was so because President Samia has ruled the nation with an iron fist, and every dissenting voice has historically been shut with immediate effect. But through Kenyans, whom they share common political ideology, as written in the East African anthem, they decided to unite and help Tanzanian citizens restore order and democracy. So, President Samia's statement was arguably to discredit Tanzanians protesting against the government, discredit that the massacre were Tanzanians, and shift the blame to Kenyans, which would otherwise present a narrative that Tanzanians were okay with her tyrannical ruling, despite human rights activists accusing her of unleashing a wave of terror on dissidents and opposition.
2025, the scenario has not changed. In fact, it has worsened, whereby we are seeing a wave of terror. We've seen unlawful killings happening in the country. We've seen disappearances of opposition leaders. We've seen disappearances of even very senior officials like a former ambassador of Tanzania to Cuba. We have seen closure of media outlets. We have seen closure of other online platforms.
No matter how good her speech sounds and how soft her voice is, they will never mop the metallic scent of iron from the veins of innocent Tanzanians flooding the streets of Tanzania towns. The cries of their blood will always burst her eardrums, demanding for justice. And these cries will follow her for the rest of her life.
To Tanzania, where the presidential election is fast becoming a bloodbath. Shocking videos and witness accounts point to a brutal crackdown by security forces on unarmed civilians.
Hospitals are overwhelmed. Bodies are piling up in morgues, but witnesses say police officers have been visiting medical facilities, collecting bodies and taking them to an unknown location. What human rights monitors describe as an attempt to erase evidence.
Anybody who tries to legitimize what has happened in Tanzania does not wish Tanzania well, does not wish Africa well. I'm really, really saddened by the mass killings. The photos we have seen here and others that we have been able to access of people piled up, dead bodies piled together without any dignity at all. It's really so terrible. Is it worth it? Is leadership worth so much killing, so much bloodshed?
Given the human rights and current security situation in Tanzania, it is impossible to say that credible elections took place on Wednesday, October 29th, 2025.
Meant to be a democratic process in Tanzania has turned into scenes of horror. Graphic videos obtained by KTN show the bodies of young men lying on the streets, some shot in the head, others bleeding to death after violent crackdowns by security officers.
The opposition says hundreds of people were killed by police in the unrest. The government denies use of excessive force.